Hey, this is Allie Edwards and welcome back to another episode in this video series talking about getting ready for Week in the Life. Week in the Life documenting this year is happening starting on Monday, June 20th. So we are getting ready with a series of videos here this week, just with a few things to think about as we get closer to the documenting portion of the project. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 things I love about this project and then 5 things that I've learned after doing it so many times over the years. All right, let's start off with the 5 things I love about this project. All right, there's lots of things that I love about this project, but if I was going to identify 5 specific things, number 1 for me would be that I really love the opportunity to focus on photography. And I think more than any other project that I embark on, any other memory keeping project, this is the one where I focus most on the photos. And one of the reasons, or one of the ways that I've allowed myself to do that over the years is by not doing, or most often not doing, the crafty part during the documenting week. During the documenting week, I'm just focusing on playing with my camera, capturing images, and then writing down some words. Some of my favorite photos have been taken during this project when I am just going about more intentionally taking photos over the course of the week. These days, I don't take photos all the time in my general life. I do take a number of photos, but when I actually embark on this project, I am setting aside time to really dive into the photo taking piece of the process and really let myself enjoy that and have fun being both behind the camera and in front of the camera. So I love this project because it gives me this opportunity to really focus on the photos portion. Number 2 reason why I love this project is because I love the fact that it has a beginning and an end, and it is a very in-depth everyday life story kind of project. I know many of you guys have seen me do Project Life over the years. I did it for a number of years where, documenting 1 week at a time over the course of the whole year and bringing those all together to tell this much larger story of our year. I approach Week in the Life different than when I'm doing Project Life. Project Life for me, 1 week in Project Life was a very kind of high level overview, whereas in the Week in the Life project, I am going to dive deeper, or I do dive deeper on each individual day. So within the album that I will be putting together, Monday will probably have, 3 or 4 spreads. Tuesday we'll have 3 or 4 spreads. Wednesday we'll have 3 or 4 spreads. So I definitely am going deeper in terms of the number of stories that I'm telling each day. And that's one of the reasons why I love this project. It allows me to go deeper, but it doesn't make it so that I'm going deeper every day for a very long period of time. That would just be too much. Number 3 reason that I love this project, I actually just alluded to it in my last response, but is the fact that there is a beginning and an end. And maybe you are somebody that jumps into memory keeping now and again, right? That you're not doing it consistently, you're not doing it all the time, which is totally fine. There is no requirement for that whatsoever in participating in any of the projects that we have here as a part of our community. But it's one of the reasons why I love this project and why I think it would be one of the last ones that I would let go of if I was to ever stop doing memory keeping in the way that I do it today. I love having a single week deep dive to look back on year over year. When I look back at those individual albums, coming together and I look at them, I am able to see so much growth from one year to the next within the container of that individual album. Number 4 reason why I love this project is because it gives me an opportunity to reflect on the life that I am living right now. It gives me an opportunity to check in with myself. Do I love these rhythms and routines? What are things that maybe I could change? I really do use it as an opportunity to take a closer look at my life. And that's been one of the reasons why I've loved this project over the years. It's an opportunity to capture 1 week via my lens and my writing, and to take stock, right? To take stock of who am I and who are we at this particular point in time. Our stories are constantly evolving, right? Whether we want them to be or not, there is always movement in our stories. And so my goal with this project, and one of the reasons why I love it so much, is that it gives me that opportunity to reflect back on the life that I'm living right now and then make potentially different choices for how I want to live in the future. And the number 5 reason why I love this project is really and honestly and truly because it makes me so very thankful for what my life looks like, right? It's this opportunity to do a deep dive, to let go of surfacey things and really take a good, hard, long look at all of the beautiful, amazing pieces of my life, even when I don't feel like that, right? Even when I feel like lots of things are falling apart, or even when I feel like, you know, there's a million things that I wish were different. This is a project that really puts me in touch with the life that I'm living right now, and how much gratitude I can and should have for this life that I'm getting to be a part of. All right, those are 5 things that I love about this project. Now let's talk about 5 things that I've learned over the years of doing this project. Lesson number 1 that I've learned: you 100% do not have to take 1,000 photos over the course of the week. I guarantee you, if you take that many photos, you will be challenged by figuring out how to use them in your project. Unless you are a person who is really, really good at culling through those photos, you're able to make quick decisions on ones you're going to use and not use. Otherwise, you can really find yourself stuck in overwhelm from simply having too many photos. So what I said in here is, in fact, I encourage you not to do that because it's just too much. Don't get me wrong, I still take significantly more photos than I regularly would during the week, but I've really learned that I don't need to take a photo of every single detail as I go through the course of my day. For many people, too many photos can lead to paralysis when it comes to actually doing something with these photos, which is the goal, right? Our goal is to experience the week, to capture things via words and photos, and then at the end to bring it all together into a format, a tangible format that we are able to hold in our hands that documents and celebrates the life we're living. So what I say about photos, what I've learned is take just enough, whatever your own enough is going to be. Take enough to give you some choices when you go to bring everything together into your album, so that you have some choices in terms of which photos you may want to use or which photos you might want to incorporate into your project to highlight the stories that you actually want to tell. So the actual numbers of photos are going to be different for each one of us, and I think that that's a really good thing. All right, the second thing that I've learned after embarking on this project for a number of years is that the words and the photos are the most important parts for me. I always love to come back to this point. I do a variety of memory keeping projects, as most of you guys know. Some of them are craftier, some of them use more products and encourage more creativity in that kind of a, you know, from that angle. But really the most important pieces of this project, and any project that I do, are the words and the photos. Those are the evidence of your existence, right? Those are the main things that you need to tell your story. The albums, the papers, the rest of the stuff, hopefully is there to help support the stories that you're wanting to tell and help give you a home for these stories, for the photos and the words that you are capturing during this particular point in time. But it's never going to be about the products. It's always going to be about the words and the photos. So keeping that in mind, both as you embark on the project and when you get to the point where you're putting things together, I think is always something that's really important to keep in mind as you move through this project. Number 3 thing that I have learned over the years of doing this project, and this number 3 thing is that unless something very unfortunate happens, there are probably going to be other opportunities for you in your life to document your everyday life stories. Do not feel like this is the be-all, end-all. You must get every little detail into this project, right? I would much more love for you to bring an attitude of grace into this project, and an attitude of knowing that you're probably going to tell more stories later on, and that if you miss some in this project, it's going to be okay. And you don't have to stop the project because you only took 5 photos on one particular day, or you forgot to jot down words at the end of the night. You can always use your photos as a jumping off point to tell your stories when you get to that piece where you're bringing it all together. Know that whatever you capture during the week will be enough. It will be enough for a project. It will be enough that you will be able to bring all of that content into an album, and you will have enough. Number 4 thing that I have learned as I embark on this project, or as I have embarked on this project over the years, is the concept that less is more. And when I say to you, don't worry about taking, you don't have to take 400 photos on a Tuesday. You can if you want to, and if you're loving the project and if that brings you joy, definitely do that. But also know that if you just took 10 photos each day and you use those 10 photos, that's going to be more than enough to help you illustrate the story of your life right now. And again, like I mentioned earlier in this particular video, the more photos you have, the more work you have to do later on in terms of actually bringing this all together to tell a particular story. So figure out what makes sense for you. And if this is your first time embarking on this project, you may not know. And so you just need to go into it and just take photos. That's what I would recommend if this is your first time. Just go for it. Take extra photos because you can always pull back from there. It's harder if you take less photos, but you can always go back into. That's one of the things people always talk about. Can I use a photo that I took last week on in this album? Yes, you can. There's not memory keeping police that are going to come around and say, oh, you took this photo in a different week and now you're adding it into your album. It's also something to keep in mind when you go to bring everything together at the end. If you see that there's a gaping hole in your story, or that you're missing a photo of something, you can always go back and take a photo and then add that into your project, right? No one is going to know and nobody's going to care, I promise. So less is more can relate to the number of photos you can take, or the number of photos that you take. It also can be related to the products too. If you get into the process of you've got your photos and you've got all your words, and then you go to sit down to bring it all together, and you're just even more overwhelmed because now you have products that you have to bring into this mix too. I really want to encourage you to keep it simple, especially again if this is your first time. I always say that if it's your first time, you have no idea what it's actually going to feel like, right, when you're doing this. So you kind of just have to do it, and then from there you can make different choices next time. But less is more is definitely one of the ways that I like to embark on this project. And the 5th thing that I've learned after doing this particular project for however many years I've been doing it now, it's that your story is worth telling, and it's that my story is worth telling. And this is one of the things that I've learned in all of the projects that we do, but I think definitely in Week in the Life, because it is so personal and because it is so focused on your everyday rhythms and routines, it's really important to me to stress to you that your story does matter. No matter what your life looks like right now, whether you're single, you're married, you're kids, you've got no kids, you're divorced, you're widowed, you're partnered, you're depressed and anxious, you're living with your parents, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a working mom, you're a working dad, you're a stay-at-home dad, you're a recovering whatever it is, you're an empty nester, you're a lost soul, you're a grandma, you're pregnant, whatever it is, the story of your right now is worth documenting. It is worth it. Not a single one of us knows when our lives or circumstances may change, for better or worse, right? Or whatever it might feel like in the moment. This is your chance to capture what life looks like for you right now over the course of a single week. I am so glad that I have albums that show what life looked like before Chris, my ex-husband, left. I'm so thankful that I have those albums that I can look back on and see what were the rhythms and routines like during that point in time. And then I can see a year later what were the rhythms and routines like after he was gone. And then I can see a year later, and then I can see a year later. And now I can look and I can see, you know, 2 kids have graduated from high school now, and we have teenagers, and everything looks different all over again. And that's the beauty of sticking with this project, I think, and coming back to it again and again, is being able to see our story evolve over time. I'm so glad that I have albums that show, you know, when it was just Simon and Anna and I. I'm just so glad that I have albums that show these weeks during these different chapters in my life. I just can't tell you how special it is to have it in these different chapters and in these different seasons. It's totally true that your week may be super mundane, or it may be insane, or it may be when things come together, and maybe when things fall apart, right? A million different things could happen over the course of this week. And I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to have fun. I want to encourage you to not get stressed out and to not take it all too seriously, and to have fun taking pictures, and to take pictures of random things and random, you know, the random moments of your day when normally you would never think to pull out your phone. Take some pictures of those kinds of things. All right, I just want to say a big thank you to those of you who've been around this week. I just had a few things that I wanted to share via video this week. We've also been having really fun lives happening over on our Allie Edwards Design Inc. Instagram account. And I also have years, literally years, of content on my blog. Not as much Week in the Life content here on YouTube, but if you click over to my blog, I literally, there are years worth of each of the different individual days of the weeks that I've done. So where I'm sharing my words and photos in a blog post, and then blog posts that also show how my albums come together after the fact. So if you want to get some sense or an understanding of what this project can look like, I really invite you to check out some of those blog posts. Other than that, I will be back here probably again in a couple weeks, sharing how I am bringing all of my content together. Again, during the actual documenting week, so starting on June 20th, actually starting on the morning of the 21st, I will have on my blog words and photos that I captured during each of those days during the documenting week. Love to just share those during the week and encourage you along the way. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below.